Okay, time to go over some JLF easy upgrades that you can do with your existing Mad Catz leftover parts. I mean, really the only part I'm talking about is using the spring to double up with your existing spring. That helps makes the joystick so it doesn't have as much play. I did it like that for about a month. I liked it. And then I actually didn't mind having it where it was a little loose, so I took the spring back out, so I've been playing like that. I'll show you how to do that for those who, want their joystick to be a little more, resistant. So basically, I'm kind of already halfway through the process here, but you got to take the joystick apart. And the way to do that, let's get this back together again here. Okay, so you got the hat, you got the spring, you got the boot. Okay, and you got the C-clamp. So at the bottom of the JLF, there's a C-clamp that goes right here. Luckily enough that they actually use a true nice, it's actually like an E-clip nonetheless, because it has a little grooves here, if you can see. I'll try to get closer without dropping it again. So all you got to do is pull this boot down a little bit, get a small screwdriver or something in there, and you can pry this out. And depending on the joystick, sometimes it's different. It's either going to be difficult to get out or easy. This one's actually about medium. The first JLF I bought, I could pull this out with my hands. This one I can't. I actually need something to pull it out and get it back on. But anyway, you pull this off, then the next piece that comes off is this boot, which it's a cap for the spring. You have your existing spring, then you have your little, I call it a hat, it's not really a hat, but it looks like a little top hat. That keeps the spring in place as well. So basically what you want to do is you take the Mad Catz spring out, take it apart the same way. It's designed exactly the same. You take that spring and you kind of mesh it together the best you can so it doesn't look too sloppy, and then you put it back on like so. Okay, and you put the boot back over it. Sometimes you might have to twist it because it's not going to be a perfect fit, but as long as you can push it down far enough to get the clip back on, then actually I don't have this all assembled, I just took it apart, but you don't have to actually do it that way. You can actually leave it in there and do it. It's a little trickier, but if you're afraid of taking it completely apart because you're going to lose the pieces or forget how it goes, you can do this with it still through there if you want. But yeah, anyway, that's basically it. With that extra spring, the tension's going to be ×2 basically, which means it's not going to be as loose. It's going to be nice and responsive. So that's the first part, and that's a preference thing. I liked it like that for a while. I actually prefer it to be the old way now, so I'm just going to leave one spring in it. So I recommend trying it out for a while. You're going to like it. Most likely you're going to like it a lot, and then you might not like it after a while, and you can always switch it. It's pretty easy. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of slap this back together. So that's the first thing you want to do, or you might want to try it. The second thing is, like I said, is the throw of the actual joystick. You can shorten that up, and the way to do that is with this boot here. This boot actually hits the sides of the gate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that black electrical tape. I'm going to measure out, let's see, what am I going to measure out? 15 inches. 15 inches, okay, of this black tape. Measure it out, and then I'm going to put it down here and I'm going to roll it around. So I'm going to cut that piece of tape out, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. Okay, so I have my 15 inches Here's my electrical tape. Okay, so here's the original boot. You want to take this tape and put it on the inside of it, the long part, not this thick edge here. Let's see here. Let's make it so it's nice and smooth here. Okay. Once you got it on there, all you got to do is just keep rolling it around. Try to keep it as even as possible. Okay, and tight. Just keep going all the way around until you're done. So as you can tell, it's sticking up pretty good. And the next thing you're going to want to do, obviously, is just cut off the excess tape so that it's back to its original size. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get the clamp back on again. So that would be your next step. Okay, so I have the electrical tape all the way around. I used a pair of wire snippers, and all I did was to cut off the excess so it goes all the way down to the plastic. I just cut, 3 or 4 times all the way around. Then I just took this and just snipped all the way around so it was nice and clean, so it's back to its original length. Use whatever means you want. Just try not to cut yourself using a razor blade because it's pretty close. But you'll see that if you hold this back up to a gate, that it doesn't take as much to move in a direction, so that keeps the throw nice and short, and it helps with, I think it helps with being more precise with your moves. So I recommend doing this, and obviously if you don't like it, you can just take the tape off. It's not permanent, it's just tape. And if you're worried about the tape coming off, it really doesn't come off as long as you put it on pretty good. I've been using my Xbox stick a lot, and I've taken it apart a couple of times, and this tape hasn't budged. It's not peeling or anything. So you can obviously put this back together like you normally would. Make sure you take enough off that you can put the clip back on there. That's it. So we're going to go ahead and actually do that. I'm going to get this back together, and I'm going to put the other gate on. Also, I'm going to put the bat top on as well. So let's get right to it. Okay, we got one more step to do on this boot. I almost forgot about it. Is you want to take a piece of electrical tape. It's 1/4 of an inch by 2 inches, and this thick part here, the part that actually hits the actuator switch, we're going to want to put a piece of tape on that as well. The reason is, since the throw is shorter, this actually barely hits the switches. So putting this piece of tape on there will give it, just believe it or not, it doesn't seem like it's much, but actually gives it just enough thickness to hit those actuators. And you just want to wrap that around the edge here, like so. And if it's too long, just take a pair of scissors and kind of guess at where you think it's gonna need to be cut and give it a cut. There. Alright. So now you just go around the edges. So now you have the tape around this edge, and you have the tape around this edge. I almost forgot about it. It has a hard time hitting the switches if you don't put just that one piece of tape around it. And if you put it all back together, you won't have any problems. So I added this step in after the fact, after I got everything together, and I realized that I forgot to do that. So you're going to want to do that too, and that's pretty easy. Like I said, it's 1/4 of an inch. It's the same length here, and it's 2 inches long, and you might need to trim it a little bit, but that's that for the boot.